Alright, I'm going to show you here how to put a wire in. If you notice, we've got the fender on already, and in Poland they had wrapped the wire all the way to about right here, but you have to leave the wire open for finishing it off. I'm going to show you how to finish off a wire, and it's essentially the same way to wire the entire car. Well, the first thing you want to do is, you notice that the wire has been bent on the end here. You don't want to leave a wire sharp on the end because it'll poke someone. So we always leave the wires long and bend them over. But now that we're going to fit it in, we'll cut that off right to length, and that's going to go to about right there. So we'll just take that wire and cut it right off. A pair of snippers. And you can see now that that's right where that wire goes. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take that wire and we're going to clamp it right into place, right where we want, so it can't move. So we're going to get the vice grips out, put one there, grab another one right here on the end, I'm going to clamp that one down right where I want it, so I get that wire right where I want it. I'm going to get one more. The wires are kind of squirrely, they like to move on you, so you got to make sure you clamp them in really well. Push that one back a little bit, and there you go. Now we've got excess material here that we're going to want to trim off. And how you do that is you take a pair of calipers and you measure your wire. And if you look at that, I hope the camera focuses, that's 156 thousandths. And the formula for the circumference of a circle is pi d, pi being 3.14 something or another. And so basically I just multiply by 3 and add a little bit, because that's pretty good for thinking about it when you're doing stuff. And so 150 there times 3 is 450, add a little bit, 500. So 500 is half an inch. So what we're going to do is set our calipers to half an inch here. And there we are, 5000. We're going to set the lock on the calipers, and then I'm actually going to use the sharp edge of the caliper as a scribe. So I'm going to get the back side of the wire, and I'm going to scribe the aluminum on this side right where I want to cut it. Come up here, I'm going to do the same thing. All the way up. And I'll blend it right into where the other wire was done. Right a half inch away. Okay? We'll skip over the vice grips here, but that's no big deal because we know we can judge where that's going. Now I'm going to take my vice grips out of the way. And I'm going to grab my snips. I've got the left and the right hand snips both, depending on which direction I want to cut. And let's see how I want to do this. I think I'm going to do it with the green ones. So I'm going to come in here and just snip this away. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually not going to snip it right on the line. I'm going to just snip it close, because there's a lot of deformation that happens with snips, and you don't want that in your metal. You want the deformation to be in the part you're cutting away. You can see I'm bending it out of the way now, and yeah, these green ones are working pretty good. And I'm getting pretty close. I'm about 1/8 of an inch away from the line, just to get the major part of the aluminum off. There. Now I'm going to come in really carefully and snip it right on the line. And I'm going to be real careful to blend it with the other part that's already been cut. Right there. Now I'm going to get right on the line. You can see that little curl coming off. That's really easy to control there with your fingers. And so Now I can just cut right down that line. Be careful, obviously, that aluminum's sharp. And there I go, right down that line. And notice I just cut through a weld. There's a weld here where they seam the aluminum together. You always want to weld past where you want to cut off, because the end of a weld is always really weak. So if you cut through a weld like this, you're cutting through good weld. And here I'm just going right down that line. There you go. Now the next thing you want to do is that aluminum sits, the aluminum wire sits right there. And what I'm going to do is take my flat jaw pliers. These are flat jaws, they don't have any teeth on them. And I'm going to go right to where that aluminum wire was, and I'm going to bend it. I know this doesn't look very high-tech, but you know, this is how we do it. And if you're good, you can actually do it pretty fast. Now, you can do this in a roller, but you know, trying to roll the entire clip is enormous. It would be too difficult to handle. So here, the secret is to work it just a little bit at a time. Just like I'm doing here. You don't want to just take it and bend it all at once, because you'll stretch the metal all out of whack, especially when you get into this part here. Because of this curve, as I bend it around, I'm going to end up with too much metal. And so if I bend it nice and slowly, the metal will have a chance to gather on itself and shrink, which is exactly what you want it to do, because you don't want to put wrinkles in it. And as I look at this, I can see I got just a little bit too much aluminum, and so I'm going to just sneak right up the side here and even that line out. It's really hard to blend into an area that's already been made. And I want to make sure that I take these slivers and keep them off the floor, otherwise they'll end up in someone's foot, or they'll end up in a tire. A little bit more here, just to make that nice. Now I'm going to keep on bending with these flat jaws as I go, and I'm going to go right up into that where that wire is. A little bit more difficult here. Just work it nice and slow, and it'll go. You won't have any problem. I'm going to straighten this little ding that Poland left us. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and do it a little more. I'm going to put those flat jaws right on that crease where I want to fold that aluminum, and you can see I'm just easing it. And anytime I get a wrinkle in there, I'm going to work it out. You don't want any wrinkles, because